Good afternoon. Get started in just about 2 minutes, but thank you guys so much for joining us for How to Eat an Elephant, Making Student Portfolios Digestible. For those of you that are already in the call with us, if you'll take just a minute to put your first and last name in the chat again, so that we can make sure that you get that credit for attending today. We'll get started here in just about 2 minutes. I also have a bulb template for us. So if you would like to use the template and follow along that way, it would be great if you go ahead and sign into Bulb. You can sign in at bulbapp.com. You can also go through SSO and log into Bulb that way as well. Let me know if you have any questions logging in. You by no means have to log in. You're welcome just to listen and follow along, but I do have a template if you'd like today's notes to be captured and safely stored inside your own digital portfolio. All right, it is 2 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know we might have a few more people hop in. For those of you who just jumped in, again, as a reminder, please make sure you get your first and last name in that chat so that we can make sure to give you credit. If any of you have tuned into any of our other webinars, fear not, I still have all of these chats, and I'm going to be working with my admin assistant here shortly to make sure that we get you guys those credits. But if you'll just bear with us, I promise you'll see that reflected in PowerSchool PL soon. But again, thank you for joining us. I'm Amanda Mass, the coordinator of digital learning here in Coppell ISD, and I'm very excited to talk a little bit about digital portfolios with you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And as I had mentioned, feel free to follow along in whatever way works best for you. I'm going to grab a link to this Bulb page and throw it in the chat. It is actually a template. So if you're signed into your own Bulb digital portfolio, you can click on the link that I just shared. It'll take you to this page. And you'll be able to click Use Template to copy this into your own portfolio. That way you have the notes, can access this later. And I'll share this again at the end of our call for those of you who for now are just wanting to listen, but I want to make sure that those that want to have access to this have that. If for some reason you're not seeing this Use Template option, just make sure that you are signed in so that you have that option and can copy it to your template. If at any point today you guys have questions, please feel free to throw those in the chat. I'm also really excited to hear some of the great things that you guys are doing in your classrooms and how you're using digital portfolios in an authentic way to really show learner growth and that progression of skills in the classroom. So today we're really going to talk about how we can use our digital portfolios to capture student growth and to empower students to own their own learning. So at the end of our time, we're going to circle back for those of you that have made a copy of this template, and you'll have the opportunity to think about a strategy or a plan that you want to use next year in order to, again, capture that student growth and empower our students to own their learning through the use of digital portfolios. So hopefully by the end of the next 50 minutes we have together, you'll have a great plan in place, but just something to be thinking about as we go. Several different things we're going to touch on today, and I'd love for you guys to go ahead and start thinking about your own practice in the classroom and the ways that you're using digital portfolios, and just kind of consider your current approach. As you consider your current approach, this will be a great starting point to think about maybe what is that something different that I can add to my current approach, or just some different ideas that maybe you haven't thought of that you can include when you're using digital portfolios in the classroom. So think about how your students are using portfolios and truly if they understand the purpose. Like, we know it is so essential for anything that we have buy-in on our kids, or you guys, even when it comes to professional learning, that we've established that why. The why is foundational and essential to engage our learners in that learning process. So think about if your students understand the purpose of their portfolio. Consider if you've built regular and intentional time to add work and reflect on their portfolios. And I'm just reading these off real quickly, but know we're fixing to dive deeper into each one of these things. And I'm going to provide you with some strategies and ideas. Again, taking this thing that can sometimes feel so big, a digital portfolio, and really breaking it up into small chunks and considering how you can make it manageable and make it something that's authentic and really, again, empowers our students in the classroom. Think about if your students have, or how you could have students capture both the process and the final product. So maybe it's being used as a showcase to share something they're really proud of, but how are we actually documenting that process of learning along the way as well? Think about maybe templates, or how you could provide context to your students through artifacts and reflections. Think about how students might be able to share their portfolios and work beyond the classroom. And the last thing we're going to talk about and dive into is how we can use comments or groups so students can provide feedback. And again, I know many of you might already be doing some of these things, and I would love to hear from you in the chat as we start to dive through each of these pieces on any ideas and strategies that you have. You guys are the experts. One of my favorite things when we talk about digital portfolios is getting to see and hear the great things happening in the classroom so that we can learn from one another. If you have this template and you're following along, again, there's a space here for you to type any key takeaways as we go, add any notes. And if you're not, feel free to jot on paper or whatever form works best for you, but that space is there. All right, tips and tricks and best practices. So again, I know I mentioned it briefly, but really ensuring that we've communicated the why is so important when you think about digital portfolios. Giving our kids ownership in the process so it doesn't just feel like something that I have to do because my teacher told me that I have to do it, but where is the value and how is this helping me as a learner, and really thinking intentionally about how we can make reflection and the use of a digital portfolio authentic in the classroom. So it's really important to identify that purpose of a portfolio within the learning environment. And that might look different at different times depending upon what you're working on. Maybe the purpose is to capture that growth and thinking. Some of my favorite portfolio examples that I've seen have been from classrooms where teachers have the kid the very first day of school. Maybe they're pulling small groups and they read a little sample from a book, and then do that again every single month. And it's amazing to see these kids grow in their reading. And it's something that is so tangible to be able to see, to watch yourself try to read a book at the beginning of the year and just see those skills and the proficiency and the fluency that has been gained throughout the year. So just thinking about how you can use that portfolio to capture growth. There's been some fun examples too in PE classes where kids have tried at the beginning of the year to do as many push-ups as they can, and maybe they can barely get 3 or 4 push-ups. But then again, just seeing that progression of skills over a time in a very tangible way. So that could be one purpose that you're using a digital portfolio for in your classroom. Maybe it's for reflective practices and really having our kids thinking about their thinking and using that to even help our students improve writing outcomes. This is a powerful way for our learners to practice speaking, writing, and even if we're sharing this, then the opportunity to practice listening from others. So just thinking about those reflective practices. And then maybe it's to monitor progress and growth over time. I know there are some great examples of this in our district. I oftentimes think about Valley Ranch and the great things that they're doing with Leader and Me and the systems that they have set up within their digital portfolio to kind of serve as that data binder, and how they're intentionally having their kids monitor progress over time. They have really cool partners and they meet regularly with their partners to talk about, like, okay, what is your goal and have you accomplished that goal? And they have proof in their digital portfolio, and they're using that data that they've captured to really talk about their goal and their progress. So some really powerful examples. and several different purposes that you might have for your digital portfolio. And again, depending upon the time of the year and what you're working on, that can look different. I know when I was first introduced to digital portfolios, my mind immediately went to, okay, our kids have finished a project, so let's take a picture of that and upload it to the digital portfolio. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget that that showcase piece is so important. Like, it's awesome for our kids to have the opportunity to reflect on those things that they're really proud of and the things that they feel like they really succeeded in, and be able to even share that with our families through a digital portfolio. But I encourage you really to reflect and think, are you using this as a way to capture growth? And if not, how might you be able to do that in your classroom? Because again, it's so powerful for our kids to be able to see their growth and progression over time. I know we talk oftentimes about authentic or redefining success. We talk about authentic relationships too, which is what I was going to talk about. But we talk about redefining success. And this is just another way to redefine success for our learners beyond a grade. Sometimes we don't see as much growth in a letter grade, but for our kids who are just making those small strides over a period of time, to be able to see that in a tangible way in a digital portfolio is so powerful. So here we have an example of a learner's writing reflections. I'm just going to grab these and throw them over here. This parent did work for the district, and I do have permission to share these. But you can see as I'm scrolling through how powerful this is. In kindergarten, on the first day, Jolie wrote her name and she talks through her writing her name. So there's great things too that you can do in addition to just typing. You can type in here, you can add pictures, you can add audio recordings and reflect in so many different ways that bring meaning and are powerful for our kids. And then later this year, we can see how she's writing some other words to fill in sentences. Keep going. Here's just a progression of her writing. And then I'm just going to go ahead and scroll all the way down to the bottom because you saw her write her name at the beginning. And here we are now. Look at all that she's writing. We've got some exclamation marks. We've got complete sentences. We've got different parts of speech. So again, just a really fun way for our kids to see that progression of growth over a period of time, be it in writing. Another great example, our middle schools do such a great job of using digital portfolios for their art classes. And every year I get goosebumps and a little teary-eyed when someone started art in 6th grade. And then as an 8th grader, they scroll through their portfolios and you can see the evidence of all the skills that they have gained. It's so powerful. So if you have any examples of how you have used digital portfolios to capture growth and for your kids to reflect or to really think about their thinking in the learning process, I'd love for you to either share out, or if you want to throw those in the chat. I think this is a great opportunity for us to learn from one another. So I'll give us just a minute if anyone would like to share out. And if not, throwing that in the chat too would be great, just so we can see some other ideas of great ways to really capture growth and for our learners to be intentional and reflecting and thinking about their learning within their digital portfolio. I always forget how awkward wait time is on a Zoom. While you're thinking about some examples, I'm going to hop over here. And again, going back to establishing that why, CISD does have a digital portfolio purpose statement. I want to give you just a minute to look at this and just think about how being able to capture growth ties to this portfolio statement. And I know for me, when I read this, this helped me figure out, like, what is my personal why for using my digital portfolio, and how can I use it in an authentic way that's going to bring meaning to me and to my own learning. As you're reading through this, if you'll drop in the chat, what words stand out to you? I know that word personalize. Yeah, personalize, powerful for sure. And again, thinking about how we make it personalized for our kids instead of saying, okay, everyone's going to take a picture of this and everyone's going to add this exactly like this. Maybe we're giving them the option to use some of those different media features within Bulb to reflect, or maybe we're letting them choose, like, what is something that you are really proud of, or Maybe we're letting them select the book to read that they're going to capture their video and put in here. But how do we make it personalized? I feel like that is so important and key to success within a digital portfolio. I've seen some other great words in here: authentic, beyond the classroom, which we're going to talk about here a little bit later. How do we take this and share beyond the classroom? Empowers, giving that ownership to our kiddos. Oh, and I love this, actionable goals. So hopefully looking at this, that kind of sparks something in you, and something from this resonates with you and gets you excited about the ways that you can use digital portfolios in your classroom, again, to showcase the great things happening, but also thinking about how we can reflect, how we can set goals, and how we can see a progression of growth over a period of time. Keep on going to the next piece. Before I go to the next piece, what ideas do you have to help establish a purpose for your learners? I think sometimes too, that intentionality is key in discussing the why behind it. Just being intentional and sharing the why sometimes really helps. And then doing it regularly. I know as a kid, I always had like that big cardboard box, and anytime I brought something home, my parents just threw my work in this big cardboard box, and it sat forever and ever. And honestly, it's probably still sitting at my parents' house with dust collected all over it. But being intentional and giving our kids the time, like saying this is important for you to add it, are we giving them the time and the space to go back and look at those things, to reflect, to see their growth, to think about what they've learned, to set those goals based off the things that they're putting in their digital portfolio? So I do encourage you just to think about that. And sometimes that intentionality and going back to something makes it more purposeful, even when you're thinking about a feedback loop, right? We give our kids feedback, but if we never ask them to like look at that feedback, reflect on it, and implement it, like, are we getting the biggest bang for our buck, and even taking the time to provide intentional feedback for our kids? So just thinking about how that also translates to a digital portfolio, and having your kids going back and looking at the work that they have in there. So the first step is really establishing that purpose. Another key to really making digital portfolios manageable in the classroom is thinking about how you can curate and reflect regularly. This really rings true for me, even in my own professional goals. I know my very first year with my goals and putting them in my digital portfolio, I had a really great goal, and then made it to the middle of the year and had my middle of the year goals meeting. Was like, oh, like I kind of forgot about my goal and haven't been great about being intentional and reflecting on it and curating and capturing evidence on my own professional goal. So something that I did for me personally, and I've also seen a lot of success with for our kids in the classroom, is making that intentional time to curate and reflect, and making it a part of the system and the routine that's been established in your classroom. So I know for me, I set a calendar invite like the last 30 minutes of the day, every other Friday. Did I get to it every single week? No, there were some that I missed, but I definitely did a much better job about being intentional and thinking about what my goal was, and in what ways the last 2 weeks I had worked towards that goal, and what evidence I had that I could add to my digital portfolio. And I think it just made me stronger as an educator. It helped me grow tremendously in the specific goal that I had, because I was constantly reflecting and thinking about it and being more intentional on ways that I could really accomplish that goal. So the same is true for our kids. I've seen some great systems and routines on our campuses. I know some campuses, like some campuses wait till like the end of a unit, and at the end of the unit, they're being really intentional and reflecting. But I've also seen campuses pick a day of the week, like we're going to take 15 minutes on a Friday morning to think about the work you've done this week, how it ties to your goal, reflect on your goal, and add content into the digital portfolio. So building that intentional time can be so powerful for our kids to think about what they're learning, think about the progress that they made, and determine what their next steps are. I saw a lot about the word empower was one of the words that you guys mentioned really resonated with you from that portfolio purpose statement. Lots of peace. But empower was a word that really stuck out. And that's an awesome way to empower our kids instead of telling them, this is what you need to learn, or this is what you've mastered, giving them that space to reflect and think about how they have, or maybe have not yet mastered that goal and what they can do to master it. So curate those learning samples regularly, reflect at least once per grading period or unit. Obviously, if you can fit more in, that's great. Spend time reflecting on those celebrations, thinking about the opportunities for growth, and setting goals for upcoming learning experiences. And it's just a great best practice towards the end of the school year to think about that year as a whole and all that you've done and accomplished. I've seen some really great things where educators have had learners at the end of the year look at their digital portfolio holistically for the year and think about those big pieces that they're most proud of and think about their goals for next year. But then also, one thing I love about Bulb is just how easy it is to reorganize and to move things within the digital portfolio. So that's also just a great time while you're reflecting to kind of clean things up, organize in a way that makes sense to you so that you can find what you're looking for. And then, yeah, at a minimum, start with once per semester. If you're thinking right now, oh my goodness, at the end of every unit, that feels like way too much. I encourage you to think about once per semester. Just start small, start there. And also know that your learning coaches are here to support you and happy to partner with you and think about ways to embed this as part of your normal routine within the classroom. If there are any thoughts, questions, or maybe great ideas that you have on curating and reflecting regularly, I'd love for you to share out or to see those in the chat. As you're thinking about that, I am going to open up this template. Well, I probably should have got out of editing mode first. Now my computer's frozen. Please hold. Ah! My screen closed. Gotta love it. Good old Zoom. I'm really hoping when I click reopen close tab, it comes back. Womp womp. Okay, here we go. Going back. Sometimes this happens when you're in the classroom or when you're leading PL. All of Chrome decides to close. I am going to get to that template here in a minute, and I'll make sure to share it with you guys. Oh man, it like really relaunched from the ground up. Okay. Hopping back to bulbapp.com. I'll just get into mine real quick. Thank you for your patience. Oops. All right. Let's try again. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to grab this and throw this in the chat. So those of you that didn't grab the template at the beginning have access to this link as well. But here is just a resource for you that has been created. Dallas ISD actually created this and shared it with Bulb, and I think it's so great. But you have different collections here for you to think about the purpose of the portfolio, which is what we just talked about, and then thinking again about the frequency of that. And it even talks a little bit about the ways in which you can reflect. And then it's got some pre-made 9 weeks learning reflections that you can use as a starting point. So I love share your learning. What are you most proud of? What are opportunities for growth? And then what steps will you take to achieve your goal? So some really great questions that we can have our kids use. Oh, I'm seeing some examples here in the chat. So if you haven't checked out the chat, there's some great examples thinking about allowing reflection to be a part of the weekly or daily station time. I absolutely love that. Keep a page per topic. What a great idea, Tiffany. Thanks for sharing. Got some STEAM educators that are having students document and reflect on each project that they created. Love it. So here's a great template that you guys can use as you're thinking about starting small, and maybe it's just a once in 9 weeks where you're going to start, and that is a-okay. Oh, I lost all my tabs, so I'm really a mess now. Okay. Hopping to our next piece. Next, I really want us to take some time to think about how we can capture the process and the products of learning. So again, sometimes it's easy just to focus on that final product, but how do we embed that process of learning? And it looks like we've already got some great examples of how that's looking in the chat. But curate a wide variety of learning samples. It doesn't necessarily have to just be some templates that have them focus on the end in mind, but maybe some brainstorming or activation activities. I think about writing often with this, how great it could be to have learners start with that first initial, well, really just their brainstorm, and then that first draft, and then that revising, and then the editing piece, and then that final work, and really being able to see the progression of their writing just over that one piece of paper is really cool. And here are some great examples. Every time I click on it, it's going to take me to a new one. There we go. I'm going to duplicate from here on out. Okay. So here's some examples of what that can look like. Thinking about how you can set your students up for success, thinking about maybe you want to go ahead and create some different templates that they can use to give them some sentence stems to think about really intentionally that process of learning. And I love that this one really focuses on that engineering. I know we have some STEAM teachers in here focusing on that engineering process and really thinking through that entire process. And each stage is also a powerful way to capture learning throughout. And then when it comes to showcasing work, I love how easy it is to embed anything you want into your digital portfolio and how great it looks. Be it a great Canva presentation that our kids have created, or maybe they've created some sort of podcast in GarageBand. There are so many different ways to embed things, and it looks so nice. So that's just a great way for our kids to be able to showcase a variety of artifacts that they've created. And then, of course, you can't go wrong with a picture. And I know oftentimes we are creating physical items and people feel like it has to be digital to go into their digital portfolio. Just a reminder, you can always capture a picture of whatever our kids have created, be it something that they've written on a piece of paper. Maybe they've created a physical project. I know in the STEAM classes, I've seen some really cool things kids have created with various materials. Just remember, you can always capture a picture and have that uploaded in your digital portfolio as well. I love that there's a comment in the chat about an About Me page. I think that that's another great way just to give our kids purpose, to give them the opportunity, to empower them and give them the opportunity to take ownership of their portfolio, just to share a bit about them. If you haven't checked it out, I'm just going to go ahead and show you why I'm here. Has anyone seen the resume feature inside of Bulb? No wonder it's being funky. It logged me out. Tiffany's seen it. Now I'm logged back in. But if you're in your portfolio, everyone has this resume and you can build out your own resume within your digital portfolio. This is great, especially I think about our 7th grade kiddos that are taking that iExplore class, and they do a whole thing on resumes. And even our high school kids, like and our littler learners too, but there's just so much power in this resume. Probably my favorite thing about it is we know anyone can put anything they want on a resume. But as you can see here, you can actually connect different collections or pages that you've created to your resume. So not only do you say like, hey, I've done X, Y, and Z, but you can directly connect that to artifacts that are inside of your digital portfolio and kind of back up. Not only am I telling you that I've done this, but actually go look and check it out. So there's some really cool pieces. So for example, on my About Me, I've connected that to my Meet Amanda Mask page. And then I also have a page that I've connected to it just about my education and coaching philosophy as well. So there are some really cool things you can do here. I've talked a little bit about being a learning designer and designing PL, so I've been able to link directly to some of the professional learning experiences that I've created. So some really cool stuff. All of that to say yes to the About Me page and really thinking about how we can add that ownership and that power. I've also seen some campuses use their digital portfolio for student-led conferences, which has been really cool as well to have parents come in and for those kids to lead the conversation, to be able to show their digital portfolio and talk through their goals and where they're currently at, and share some of those artifacts as well. All right. Which kind of brings us to this next piece about how you can create and reflect in a variety of modalities. Again, it is very open for you to add what you want. There's also some really great new additions, depending upon when the last time you've really played inside of Bulb. I really love making tables. For me personally, my new obsession is to use I can't talk and navigate my digital portfolio at the same time, apparently. I like to use the check boxes. There's just something that feels so good about checking a box. Am I the only person that just like really loves to check a box? So this year for my personal goal and for my team goal, we actually I was able to put check boxes next to my thing, next to each action step within my goal. And it just feels so good to be like, yes, I've met that goal. And again, just another way to regularly be in here and kind of track the progress and monitor your growth towards your goal. But I love some of the new things they've added. They've got some check boxes now. If you're looking for those, they've actually been added to where the bullets usually are. There's a checkbox option. You can also add tables, which is a newer addition, and dividers as well. But going back to reflecting in multiple ways or showing your learning in multiple ways, you can always add videos, files. I also love the URLs. Most of the URLs, especially if it has an embed code, they embed directly in the page and it looks so nice. And then, of course, there's so much power in this audio and for learners just to be able to talk through their thinking as well. Another thing that learners have access to if they're using their digital portfolio on the app is the drawing features, which are also super powerful for them to make quick sketches and drawings directly in their Bulb digital portfolio page. And then, of course, there's always the carousel. Carousel, does everyone know what a carousel is? It allows you to add multiple images. So it almost becomes like a photo album so you can scroll through and there's some really cool features there. I'm not still sharing the template, but I can share the template. I jumped over to my own goals so I could show you my check boxes and geek out about how excited I am about checking the check boxes. But let me share this template again. Boop. Template is back in the chat for anyone who needs that. So lots of great opportunities there. And, you know, before Chrome decided to close and I was using the incognito window, so like I can't get any of my stuff back, I had these pages all pulled up and ready for you. That's okay. I'm going to show you where they're at now. I do like to point out in the Copal DLC bulb inside of, I'm not even sharing my screen, am I? When the window closed, I lost my screen. Ta-da! You guys didn't even get to see my check boxes. So sorry. When the whole window closed, I lost my check boxes and you didn't even get to see the resume. Okay, backing up real quick. In your digital portfolio, you have the resume button. Here you can add content about yourself and about your experience. And this is where I talked about you can link different pages or collections directly to the content in your digital portfolio to just kind of back up. Like I say I've designed PL before, but here are actual examples of the professional learning that I've designed and facilitated. So really cool for our kids. Maybe it's like, I say I'm in such and such sports, but here's actual videos of me playing this sport or the different teams that I'm on. And then here's my quick check boxes. Here are the check boxes. I love this, especially for goals, and think it's a great way. Just, I don't know, there's just something so empowering about, yes, I've done that and I'm moving towards my goal. But again, to get to those check boxes, it's where those bullets are. There's now a new option to add the checkbox. And then I was just quickly talking through this add button and all the different options that are here. So sorry about that, guys. Thank you for catching me that I was not sharing this page anymore. Okay, hopping back over then to the Digital Learning Coach bulb. Inside of Educator Resources, there's a collection called Bulb for Educators. I'm just going to throw this in the chat so you have it. This is a great one to bookmark when you're thinking about digital portfolios within the classroom. Oh, I already got it. There it is. There are some new things that are in here that I do want to point out inside of classroom resources. If you teach kindergarten through second grade or early childhood through second grade, I encourage you to check out this Bulb for Littles. We've recently created some great tips and tricks on digital portfolios for early learners. It includes information about how to access their digital portfolio, we just talked about all the different multimedia that they can add. This will give you a tutorial step-by-step of how learners can add images, videos, recordings, all those different things to their digital portfolio. And then it also gives you some information about how to share pages efficiently, which we're fixing to dive into here in a minute, as well as just some great tips and tricks. This one is probably one of my favorite tips and tricks because it always just warms my heart to see it in action. But especially if you're teaching little learners, I encourage you to find that buddy classroom. Maybe it's a 4th or 5th grade classroom on your campus. I've also seen some of our high school kiddos come to specific campuses and support digital portfolios and other projects and activities. But it is so amazing to see our kids partner together. It's a great opportunity for our 4th or 5th graders to be leaders on their campus, to share what they know with others, but also our littles just love being buddied up with someone else and having those conversations. So that's a great way to get started, especially if you're just thinking about getting them logged in for the first time and having them maybe create that About Me page. I've seen lots of our kindergarten classes create like a self-portrait of them using the drawing feature, which is always so fun. For really setting up their portfolio from the beginning and giving them the opportunity to share a bit about themselves. So I encourage you to think about buddy classes and how that could work for you. But there's some other great tips and tricks in here as well. I just wanted you guys to know this resource exists, and you by no means have to know all there is to know about digital portfolios. There's some great videos and tutorials in here to help you in supporting your kids. And of course, your learning coaches are always here to partner with you, to work alongside you, and we'd love to come into your classroom and help facilitate the use of digital portfolios in an authentic way in learning. So lots of great stuff. There are also some templates in here if you're looking for specific templates. Great resources. This one has examples. And then I'm going to open this one because I had that open on my other tab. We're going to talk about it in just a minute. All right. Hopping back over here. I saw in the chat when we were initially looking at that portfolio statement, it was mentioned how we can not only empower learners, but share beyond the classroom. And I think this is just another next step and way that you can make digital portfolios digestible, but really using it to build a community of learners. So inside of a page, you can leave comments. That's a great way to share that. But also there's so many opportunities, and our parents actually can even have accounts within their digital portfolio, within Bulb, to see learners' digital portfolios. There's just great opportunities to share the work that's happening within our classrooms with our families, and really just encourage our kids. Again, we talk about that why. There's nothing more exciting as a kid than to be able to come home and show your family what you're working on, those things that you're really proud about, or the goals that you've accomplished and all the evidence you have to show like your growth over a period of time. So just thinking about how you can build a community of learners, be it leaving comments and talking back and forth with one another about the work in a constructive and kind way, but also how you can use that to engage our families and build that community beyond the classroom. I do like to always say and be very aware of sharing things and just having that conversation. I know I'm not going to get too much on my soapbox about digital citizenship, but we talk a lot about digital citizenship and how the conversation is just like citizenship, right? When you are a kind person and you are a good citizen, those are natural conversations that we're having every single day in our classroom. And digital citizenship, while there might be a need from time to time to have that standalone lesson or conversation, the more that we can really embed conversations about how to be a good citizen, whether it's face-to-face or online or in a digital space, naturally into our day-to-day, then I think that helps our kids see it as a part of just being a good human instead of like this separate thing. So this is a great opportunity too, when kids are using their digital portfolios, to have those natural conversations about digital citizenship, have the conversations about what information should we share online, what should we not share online, and then really be intentional too in these share settings. Because we do have access to various share settings, learners can keep something private, so only they can see whatever they've created. There's also a way to share custom. Maybe you're sharing it to a specific person or a specific group, or you make it public. But having conversations around the share settings when you're thinking specifically about building a community of learners is so important for our kids to just consider, like, what kind of information am I sharing online, and helping to, from an early age, develop that positive digital footprint as they're thinking about sharing content in a digital space. So just kind of keep that in mind. There's also some really great settings too that we'll dive into here in a minute with groups that allows you to see content that kids have created without them sharing that content for everyone else. But again, there's definitely a time and a space to share beyond the walls of our classroom. Think about what that looks like, but also be intentional in having those conversations with our kids about what should or shouldn't be shared, and how we can continue to remain safe online. And then also, if you're using the comments, thinking about how we interact with one another in a kind and appropriate and constructive way. I'll get off my soapbox now. Okay. The next thing that I really want to talk about too, when we're thinking about how to make digital portfolios digestible, is easy workflows for you as educators and for your learners to use templates to access content, and all of the above, honestly. So there is a great resource here that I'm going to share with you guys. And it really can help you think through how digital portfolios fit into your daily classroom workflow. Um, Not that everything has to have a template. Like, there is a lot of power in telling our kids, go to your digital portfolio and create a page, and giving them a blank page to start with. But an easy first step is to provide our learners with a template that they can use, giving them really good and intentional questions or sentence stems that can help scaffold that reflection and that thinking about their goal or whatever you might be doing specifically in the classroom. But just know that you can create pages and turn those into templates. So that's really what this creating is all about. And this will give you, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. We'll give you, when you click on it, it gives you some specific design tips and tricks and activities that are available to you as you're going through each of these pieces. Once you've created something, I don't know if any of you have played with or seen the assign feature, but I say everything's recent. I have no concept of time anymore. I want to say about a year ago, Bulb rolled out the assign feature. Is anyone familiar? Has anyone used the assign feature in their classroom? The assign feature is super cool because it essentially allows you to take those templates and assign it to your kids. You push a button, and the next time they log into their digital portfolio, it is just there on the front page of their digital portfolio, waiting for them to put it wherever they want it to go in their digital portfolio and then complete the reflection. So I know, like, for you guys today, I shared that template link. You can still share that template link and have them sign in and click use template. But there's a lot of power too in that assign feature and just having that shared directly with our learners. In addition to that assign template, it's also going to create a space where you can go back and look at all of those different templates that have been assigned and completed. So that's pretty cool. And this page will give you more information. If you click on templates, it will show you how to create those templates. If you click on assign, it'll show you how to do that as well. But if it's something you guys are interested, I'm happy to show you how quick and easy it is. I'll show you real quick. Not that I want, one thing that I will say is tread lightly with the assign feature. Once you assign, it is assigned. And one day I decided to play with this just to, see how it worked. And then I assigned something.
Establish and use a
I assigned something to a lot of people, which was fine, but they're just like, why is this random thing in my digital portfolio? And I was like, oh, oopsie, I just assigned this like 150 people that now have this random thing in their digital portfolio. So just be sure You want to assign something before you choose to assign something. So all you have to do once you've created a page is click on this little assign button here. I don't have many groups, but you will see your classroom groups. So basically all of the information, once that's in for the beginning of the school year, Bulb is going to create groups for you based on who's rostered to your classes. And you can actually click on whichever class you want to assign it to, push assign, and the next time they log in, this is just going to be here for them to add to. So it's super easy to do. And then for those of you who have never used a template before, same kind of thing. You click on these three dots, you turn on this template, and now it becomes a template for anyone that I share this link to. As long as they're logged in, they'll be able to click use template and essentially forces a copy of this page into their digital portfolio. So even just thinking about, I'm going to go back to my home page here. Thinking about creating a template from scratch can be super easy. It doesn't have to be something big. You can go to create page. I'm going to call this webinar reflection. You can, of course, add an image. If you haven't played with it, I love to add my images just from that image search because it's got some really great images here. I'm just going to pull a fun computer and then wait for it to load. Then it can be as simple as putting some questions down here. What is one thing you learned today? Or maybe you want a sentence stem. Today I learned that I want to try blank in my classroom next year. So it doesn't have to be anything big or over the top. You can start simple. Of course, you are free to add emojis and images and all the extra things in here, but don't feel like it has to have that. Sometimes, and again, you can even ask your kiddos just to start from a blank page and push that record button and start to record themselves reading. There's so many different options. Well, might help if I spell right. But anyways, there are so many different options and don't feel like you have to start over the top. Like you can start super simple and even something as easy as creating a quick template and then assigning that to your kids could be a good first step in getting them into their digital portfolio and thinking intentionally about their learning and their growth. Okay, we have just about 5 minutes left. That was the majority of like the big content that I wanted to share. Again, going back to our approach, those pieces that we can really do in our classroom to take something that feels so big sometimes, digital portfolios, and really break it into small chunks so that it is purposeful, it is meaningful. It empowers our learners, it helps them grow. Those things that kind of are summarized right here in this guide your approach. So thinking about how we can help our learners understand the purpose of that portfolio. How can we build in intentional time for them to reflect? Again, there are some great ideas in the chat, thinking about having it a part of stations that they're doing once a week, or maybe at the end of the unit. I know a STEAM teacher mentioned having them reflect through the process of whatever project they're creating. But then thinking about how you can capture both the process of learning and that final product. Consider how you can use templates to help you and help your learners, especially if this is their first time diving into digital portfolios. How can we quickly, and you guys saw how quick and easy it was to create that template. How can we quickly create this template to help give them those structures in that system and get them in the process of reflecting intentionally and thinking about their thinking? And then consider those activities that you do have in your classroom that you want to share beyond the four walls of your classroom. And how might a digital portfolio help you do that? And don't forget to have your digital citizenship conversations along the way. Great way just to embed that naturally into the conversations you're having. And then also consider how you might be able to use comments or groups so that students can provide feedback. So those were like our big pieces that we talked about today. For the next couple minutes, I would love if anyone has any ideas to share either out loud or in the chat. And then also I'd like for you to take some time, whether you have this template or not, but to answer the question, a strategy I plan to try next year is, what is one strategy that you want to try next year to help capture student growth, empower students to own their learning, and improve learning outcomes through the use of digital portfolios? Give you just a minute. Again, you can share out or add that to the chat. I love that someone mentioned the digital resume assignment. I'm just going to throw it out there that for the last 2 years, Bulb has actually done a resume, I don't want to call it a competition, like a resume challenge. And they've actually selected at least 3 to 5 learners that end up getting gift cards as a result of like completing their resume. So if that's something that you're interested in, and they run that again next year or this coming year, I'm happy to share the information and the details. It's a great practice to create that anyways, but an extra challenge always makes it a little more fun too. Seeing lots of great strategies pop into the chat. Thinking about maybe using some of those templates, thinking about in our meetings, how you might be able to use the All About Me page that our learners have created. I see someone going to try the buddy classroom. If anyone is interested in trying a buddy classroom and needs help orchestrating or just wants someone there, I'm always happy to be there. I love seeing those buddy classes. It makes me so happy. All right, we are approaching 2:50. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me as I struggled with my computer as Chrome decided to update in the middle of the session. So thank you for hanging in there as I fumbled. But really, I'm just so thankful for you taking time out of your summer to join me today as you continue your journey in digital portfolios in your classroom, but also for you personally. Please know that the learning coaches are here to support you in any way, be it helping create resources, just being there to support you along the journey, or helping learners get logged in and use their own digital portfolio for the first time. It would be our honor to partner with you. For those of you who tuned in a little late, just one last reminder to drop your first and last name in the chat so that you'll get credit for today. And again, thanks for joining, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your summer. Thank you.